I've made myself loud and clear that certain things that are happening are unacceptable because I was here during Amin's time. You know, I'll recount the dictum of this preacher in Germany during the Second World War. I forget his name. Anyway, God save his soul for his name. He said, when they came for the socialists, I kept silent because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the gays. I kept quiet because I was not gay. Then they came for the trade unions. I kept silent because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews. I kept silent because I was not a Jew. When they came for me, there was nobody left to speak on my behalf.
Bwe bajjanga baagala oba bwe batta ab'e Kasese nagamba nti nze siri w'e Kasese kaba kirabe. Bwe batta ab'e Luweero nagamba nti abo babeera mu Luweero nze kiri nsangawa. Bwe badda ku bannothana eggulu ne batta abakyoli nogamba nti afe tetuli bakyoli tetuli b'engulu. Bwe batta abantu mu kyana kya Turera oba mu kyana kya Train eyo bagamba nti fe tetuli beeyo abo bafe abateeso. Kakati nga bamaze okutta banno bonna bamalawo, lwe bajja okunona wallahi tewabeerawo muntu n'omu asigadde kukutaasa. Lw'okitegeera nti bulijjo babanona kyali kikukwatako okulwana bumu nabo, obutabatta, obutabakola be baabakola. Naye okuva ekiri nti wafuuka tebinkwatako, banno bonna ne babatta ne babamalawo, lwe bazze ku ggwe wallahi bagenda kukutwala nga akasajja akanafu oba omuntu atalina makulu. Ebyo bibadde bigambo bya General Kahinda Otafire. Alina amagezi toola, atalina magezi twala bigambo bye. Tofa ku General Otafire naye twala ebigambo byayogedde nti kikulu. Nga 15 genda olonde Kyagulanyi twejjeko abatemu, nga 15 genda olonde eddembe lyo, genda weddiza ensi yo ogijje mu buwambe, nunula ensi yo n'akaluluko nga 15 londa Kyagulanyi Center mu Mitembo.
Events that have taken place in this country, and I don't want countenance as minister responsible for internal affairs. I've made myself loud and clear that certain things that are happening are unacceptable because I was here during Amin's time. You know, I'll recount the dictum of this preacher in Germany during the Second World War. I forget his name. Anyway, God save his soul for his name. He said, when they came for the socialists, I kept silent because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the gays. I kept quiet because I was not gay. Then they came for the trade unions. I kept silent because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews. I kept silent because I was not a Jew. When they came for me, there was nobody left to speak on my behalf. Ladies and gentlemen, don't commit the sin of silence. And those of us who are in authority must learn to hear. In Kiswahili they say, asiolewa na wazazi afundishwa na dunia. If you don't learn from your parents, you'll be taught by the world. Those of us in authority, if we don't know how to exercise authority judiciously and with caution and compassion, we shall be taught by the society we are leading. We lead. Well, some people want to rule. I don't ascribe to that. We lead with the consent of the governed. Sometimes the governed are wrong. When the governed are wrong, it's the duty of the leaders to patiently explain to the governed where they have gone wrong. But more often than not, the governed are right. Those who are governed, when you see them crying, when you see them jumping up and down, don't suppress them. Keep them in order, but feel their pain. Mama Juba has said it properly. Don't, it's our job to repair you. And whether you hurt us or don't, it's your job to rehabilitate us. So, why do we have to get to that stage when we can stop it before it happens? Disagreement is not the problem. Making mistakes is not the problem. The problem is when you can't repair the damage you've done, or to prevent the damage you're about to do. In my military training, they told me, my instructors told me, the greatest generals are those who win wars without shooting a bullet. Those who win wars without shooting a bullet. Talk of bullets. You see wars in the world. Have you ever heard of the phenomenon of the military-industrial complex? The phenomenon of military-industrial complex. Weapons are commodities. And they are made in factories. And those commodities have to be consumed. When they are not consumed, the factory is closed down and people get unemployed. So how do you consume weapons? How do you consume weapons? You create wars. They create wars, we buy their weapons, we kill each other, their industries go on, here we go back begging. Do we manufacture BM in Uganda? No, but we deploy it. Do we make tanks? I'm told Mujira is trying to make some in Ruweru, but we deploy them. Do we make aircrafts? No, we deploy them. So does Rwanda, so does Congo, so does Burundi. And we are consuming all these warcrafts from people who make them, and we pay for that equipment. Chiriowa. And we paying Amini's debts for weapons he bought to kill us. Amin went and bought weapons, used them against us. And we, the survivors, are paying. So, Ghana, whatever you use against us or whatever we use against you, when we win, we shall pay. When you win, you will pay. So, the medicine is, let's not fight. Yeah, let's not fight. Let's tell us how to get back on track. Yeah. Tell us how to get back on track. Chego and I, we should also listen to them. That's the best way we shall get back on track. And then we shall all prosper. Then you will not have reason to bury me when you've killed me, when I can't fight anymore. I'm not going to fight with a gun now, but I still have my head. You know, one day, the late Pecos met General Kashaka, and in their discussion, Kashaka told General Pecos that 2 heads are better than one. Then Pecos said, yeah, 2 heads are better than one, except when the second one is yours. So let's put our 2 heads. Let's put our 2 heads. Tell us where we're going wrong. Let's also feel. In Kiswahili say kuhithi. Kuhithi. Let's feel your pain. Let's get to understand each other. Let's not get excited. Like Noop says, for us we're not going to be part of this thing of yours, iPod. But if you're not part of iPod, how shall we know when you are hungry? But I'm suffering from hunger. The man in the kitchen does not know you are hungry. How does he feed you? What you do is come to iPod, grab the ladle and say, don't serve this one, you also give me. When you've given me soup without bread, I say, I also want bread. How come you are giving Rukwago meat and Chikire chicken? Say, treat us fairly. But if you are outside, nobody will listen to you. And this goes for all episodes in political struggle, including the struggle with SCJ. That SCJ should be tried in a court, condemned or absorbed, is a right. It's a right. So why not you? The department falls under you. DPP is under Chwanuka. Honestly, keeping a man in jail for 8 months, and you say he's guilty. You've not told us what it is. Tell us. Yes, I know he could be guilty as hell. But for as long as we don't know what he has done or not done, for us as laymen, in the court of public opinion, he's innocent. In the court of public opinion, he's innocent until you present him before us and you tell us what he has done. And all the others. No citizen should be incarcerated without fair trial. I've told you this. You may hate me, you may like it. That's up to you. As far as I'm concerned, nothing lost, nothing gained. Bye-bye.
A round of applause.
I was born in a place called Izumo, a parish called Izumo, a village called Rushoroza, where Chirambe Market is. That's where I was born. And then we migrated from Chirambe, which is about 10 kilometers from here, to this place. And I attended the Ubanjizi Primary School from primary 1 to primary 6. Then I briefly went to St. Kabwa Junior Secondary School. And then I went to Mutorere for P7. Then from Mutorere we went to transferred to Shoroza for P8. Then I did P8 in Mutorere. I mean in Shoroza, Kabare. Then I went to Kitab Seminary for 1 year. And I disagreed with the people who were teaching me over quite a number of issues. So I was advised to leave the school. And when I left, I decided not to go back to school. I did self-education and went to Makerere University. And from Makerere University, I went to Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I served as a foreign service officer. And while I was at Makerere, we were fighting against Idi Amin. That's when I joined Fronasa. And from there on, the rest is what is known. From Makerere, we went to the bush. I mean, to foreign service. We went to the bush up to now. There are quite a lot of things I didn't agree with, especially subjects about morality and philosophy. I realized that what we were, well, it came to me, it struck me that what we were being taught was not exactly, apart from the sciences, but the humanities, I didn't quite agree with. For instance, we were being taught European history. And I found it very interesting that I should be taught about what happened in Europe and not what happened in Africa. There are quite a lot of things I will write a letter about later on that I didn't agree with. Questions of religion. There were many answers, questions unanswered, which I asked because I was in a seminary and there were quite a lot of things I wanted to know. And I was told, just believe. And I found it a bit disturbing that you should tell me something that doesn't make logic and you say I should believe. instead of giving an explanation. So I thought educating myself and doing other things was a much better option for life than sitting in a classroom and being told things you don't agree with. Being taught in a classroom and reading for yourself is the same thing. Actually, reading is better self-education than listening to the teacher. Because if you don't understand something, you make references to other books. And you actually get knowledge the teacher does not have. Teachers don't know everything. They are guides. But if I can get guidance from a book, why should I resort to a teacher? When I've seen Jesus, why do I need a priest? If I've got to Jesus, why do I need a priest for? Yeah, that's what I did, and I started the mature age entrance examination and passed and went to Makerere University, where there are many things I thought I would be. But then this exigencies of the situation dictated what I finally became. Because while I was reading and looking at what was happening in the country, I realized that there are quite a lot of things that we could achieve for the country, for the stability of the country, rather than pursuing the careers in engineering and medicine and what. Because if you don't have safety, everything else falls by the wayside. We had to pursue security to ensure that our country is secure and stable. Once the country is secure and stable, then everything else can follow. You know, like if they were shooting across the street there, wouldn't sit here and conduct an interview. You know, so I realized that we had to stabilize the politics of our country to get rid of a fellow like the people like Idi Amin and the ilk, in order to be able to pursue our careers. No, those were turbulent times. The situation was so unstable, you couldn't even dream of a career. It was a falsehood to believe that you would be anything in an unstable environment. And I realized that at a very early age. I pursued political science and public administration, and that's what I majored in. Political science and public administration. And then I did international relations and international law, and political geography and geopolitics. And then I did African, comparative African studies, contemporary Africa, government and politics in Africa. Those were my major quests. Remember, we were doing that under Idi Amin. The Idi Amin regime, in particular in Uganda, and what was happening on the continent. Because Idi Amin at that time was not alone. There were quite a lot of things going wrong. You know, because of what Idi Amin was doing, we were forced to even look at the greater Africa, and it dwelled upon us that liberating Uganda was not complete, was not enough without liberating Africa. So our politics was not struggling to liberate Uganda, but struggling to liberate Uganda and then use Uganda to influence the rest of politics on the continent. No, it's a struggle. Struggles don't end in one day. Yes, we've been able to influence events because we've been able to influence politics in Uganda. We've been able to influence politics on the continent. We, for instance, achieved, resurrected the East African community. We've influenced COMESA. We've influenced the politics in the neighborhood. We fought for the liberation of the African peoples, black peoples in the South Sudan. We've, by example, shown other liberation movements and other struggling peoples in the world, or on the continent and in the world, how they can liberate themselves. You know, even setting an example itself is good enough. I had participated in the anti-Amin struggle, and when the 1979 war ended, the subsequent events clearly showed that the question of liberating Uganda had not been resolved. Quite a lot of things were left undone. you could clearly see that the politics were not going to be stable. So in my mind, I realized we were going to have to fight again. There was going to be another showdown before we could stabilize the country. And that's why President Museveni accuses me of asking him to take off guns and keep them instead of giving them to surrendering them to the government. He always says I asked him to hide guns, so because we didn't trust the people we were going to work with. But I could clearly see that we were going to have another showdown, and we needed weapons. Then he had to reason to me, and we surrendered all the weapons. So that's why I always ask him, remind him that I told him we should conceal weapons, and he refused. And it took us 5 years to get on top of things in Uganda once again. But I could clearly see the question of liberation of Uganda was not resolved in 1979, and we were going to have another showdown. First of all, the elections were fraudulent. The fraud in the elections was so glaring that it was difficult to push it under the carpet. Secondly, the contradictions, the inter-party contradictions, the contradictions between DP and UPC were irreconcilable. Then the contradictions within the UPC itself, were such that there was an undeclared civil war within the UPC. So the whole thing, the whole political fabric was going to fall asunder, and we didn't have the threads that could keep the country together. We had to struggle to ensure that we get rid of that, and get the country out of the doldrums, the political impasse that was obtaining then, in order for us to be able to move. It took long because we had to prepare. First of all, when we started, we had no weapons. Secondly, the population did not understand what we were struggling for. Thirdly, we had to do organization to be able to take over the state. Not only take over the state, but to run it. We had to prepare cadres, we had to prepare this, we had to prepare that, we had to get weapons, we had to get weapons and get sufficient strength. Not only take over the state, but also to maintain the state and stabilize the country. And that doesn't take a short time. Because if you had hurried, yes, you can take Kampala, but have you got capacity to control the whole country? It's not enough to overthrow government. You have to have capacity to take over the whole country and stabilize it. We organized ourselves, we trained, we acquired weapons, and ironically, the then government was our quartermaster general, because we used the same weapons they were using against us, against them. We were all drawing ammunition and weapons from the same store. Food, ammunition, uniform from the same store. The state was fractured under Milton Obote. It is a fallacy to say there was a government Obote too. Frankly speaking, the late Milton Obote was not in charge of government. There were many power centers. Mwanga was a power center. My friend Chris Kwakasisi was a power center. Peter Tai was a power center. Kuruza Chirunda was a power center. Oito Joke was a power center, and others. So Milton Obote was torn between all of these different factions, which some of them didn't see eye to eye, and in those 4 years, you can safely say he had no control, and when he was removed, then you remember, you recall that there were 7 governments in Kampala, in Uganda, 6 in Kampala, 1 in the west.